because I had enchiladas last night. So it's like, all right, buddy, you think that was a good one? Just wait. I'll show you how it's done. He would smile, rip one off, and then he would just look at me. I'm like, yeah. This is my house, Kimosabi.
I think it's only fitting to start this episode off just with a big, deep sigh, because, oh man.
Oh, you are teeing this up so good.
Enzo, to me, looks like a more agile, basically a young Chess Fabregas.
It's a Rolls Royce, man. Thiago Silva.
Messi is the Jorginho of international football. That was a dumb take.
The flag stays down! The flag stays down!
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Tonight, you got myself, Andy, you got Parker, you got Matt, all cheering on what was, I would say, a pretty good point against Liverpool to start off the season. Not something we'd be saying last year, but this year there seems to be a different vibe. Matt, we're vibing. How are you vibing on this wonderful weekend, Matt?
You can fuck right off. Let's start with that. I'm pretty tired. Not gonna lie to you guys. I had my son all weekend while my wife was working kind of some crazy hours. So if you ever think you need sleep, try hanging out with a 5-month-old for a weekend. That's a whole different level. But other than that, doing good. The plus side to having a little one is you get to watch soccer all day and nobody questions you. Nobody asks, why are you watching so much TV? You just sit and watch soccer all day. It's fantastic. So that was a bright spot, but it's Sunday night. You're with the boys. It's a good time. Parks, how are things with you, my guy?
Yeah, we're all right, man. I never liked Sunday games when you start the season. It's just I'd rather kick it off on a Saturday on the main day. But so we had to wait an extra day to get things rolling for the Premier League start. But no, it was it's fun to have that energy back, and it kind of snuck up on me, to be honest, boys. It was kind of hyped up for a bit, and then all of a sudden we're here and it's live. And I think we saw that where it's like, okay, this isn't preseason anymore. It's Liverpool, right? It's a completely different level, completely different style of play, and it's big time, and that's fun again. And so what's cool though is, I'm out in Colorado now and the weather's been pretty great, but I'm really like looking forward to like the fall season, having a fall season. Mainly it's my favorite season as a kid growing up and everything, and I think Colorado has more of a fall before it just hits harsh winter, especially compared to Minnesota. So I'm looking forward to that transition into the new season coming up here, not too far away. So soccer's back, Chelsea's back, and it's good to be hanging out with you boys. So yeah, that's good. Andy?
Yeah, no, I'm Matt. I've been there, done that with the tiredness, and yeah, Parker, like you said, I feel like the game snuck up a little bit here. I was like, oh crap, I get to go to Highbury today. That's fun. So no, it was good. It's been a good overall week. Spent the week out in Oregon for work, which is beautiful place out there. And then Chelsea game today, and then this week I get to go meet my newest niece down in Kansas City. So very, very, very positive couple weeks here for me, I would say. speaking of positives, I talked about a little bit about it earlier. Last year we would go into a match, especially towards the end there, and we would turn it on begrudgingly, thinking, "Oh God, here we go again. We're about to drop some points." Watch same old fuckers out there being offsides and missing shots and really not giving a shit. And then there's today, the 1-1 draw. I have to keep reminding myself that we did not win today. But the energy was fantastic. Pochettino came out in his Bond villain, black on black, came out and hugged Jurgen Klopp and his whole staff like, "Bitches, I'm back." And then Chelsea came out and looked like they gave a shit. So there's positives. There's a lot of positives. I feel like that's going to be the vibe of today's pod. Straight vibes. So what is, Parker, we'll start with you. What is your number one positive takeaway from today?
I mean, you gave a pretty good summary of what we saw today. But just the fact that we have some hope and a lot of new faces, I'll say, are kind of my two positives that stick out. And we watched the guys play in preseason and we saw some really good things. But what's cool is like Reece James didn't play his best ball in preseason. We don't think Reece James tried his hardest in preseason. Same with kind of Enzo. And those guys are back with a vengeance. It was good to see Reece take on the captain armband. Hopefully that knock he picked up at the end was just kind of a precautionary takeoff and not anything more serious. I haven't heard anything about that yet, but overall, man, it's funny because we've been drawing Liverpool like the last 7 times we've played them. It was good to see some goals finally in this matchup because I feel like it's been 0-0 for a while against each other. Liverpool look a bit out of sorts as well. Same to us. We're both similar teams in our sort of rebuild or our figuring out what our identities are. So there's some of that, but they prove how dangerous they can be, in the snap of a finger, where they can just kind of turn defense into offense and go quick. And even though Mo is offside, he still puts the ball in the back of the net. It's just you're reminded that they're still Liverpool and that it can go quickly. But overall, I thought Chelsea kind of dominated the game. So it was a good first outing. We obviously need to win these next couple. I know we've got an easier schedule to start the season, but a draw against Liverpool at home, I'll take it. I like what I saw, and then we're going to need to put some points, some big boy points up here coming up. So that's what I saw, man. It was good stuff.
It was fun again. That's really the biggest thing. It was fun again. It was exciting to watch. I'll be honest. As soon as Liverpool scored that first goal, I'm like, this looks familiar. Been here before. And then the goal that was called offsides, I'm like, here we go. Like, all right, well, we fixed a lot of things, but you can see the inexperience, the team still getting used to one another, things like that. But we showed a lot of fight. Reece James, the battering ram himself, just bodying anybody. It was good to see. We talked about, what do we get out of Conor Gallagher? I think he had a fantastic game today. So I was very happy to see that. The big thing with him is, can he keep it up for, every single match? We'll wait and see, but he had a good preseason, and today's game, a big game against Liverpool, he played very well. You talk about some of the other guys, Chills, Reece, Thiago Silva, Enzo, kind of the guys that we know are going to be up there. They all played well. Nicholas Jackson, we saw what he can do against very good teams. He didn't capitalize like we wanted him to. He did have some chances, but it's the fact that he's making those runs. He's taking on defenders. I think in the Premier League, it really doesn't get much tougher than Virgil. He went toe-to-toe with him, and that's no easy task. So I liked what I saw out of him. I even saw him do something I haven't seen in a long time, which is track all the way back and play defense while Raz was still walking back. from the midway line. So that was fun to see. But you have to love the hunger that this team has going into this year. And this match against Liverpool, I think, showed what we can expect throughout this season. I don't think we are the stepping stone that we were last year. And Collins, I know, we've talked about this, the new manager high, right? Well, we got the preseason out of the way. We got the first match out of the way. I'm hoping that it's not a case of new manager boost or anything like that, but it looks like this team is here to stay and to compete throughout this campaign.
See, that's one of the things that I was most impressed with was Pochettino. All preseason, we had seen a back four. We'd seen a 4-3-3. And so he comes out match day one, Jurgen Klopp probably anticipating a 4-3-3. And what does Pochettino spring on him? 3 of the biggest fucking center backs you'd ever see in your life. Levi Colwill, big boy. Thiago Silva. Oh, man. What did you call him? I put it in our intro. I can't remember what it was. Man of Steel or something. Thiago Silva.
A Cadillac defender.
Yeah, something like that. And then Axel Disasi. Oh, man, is he a big boy. 6'3", looks like he's about 220. Like, oh, man. And I will say the first 20 minutes, Matt, like you said, were a bit iffy, right? You let Salah in. Seemingly it was, let Salah do whatever he wants, ball. But I think that was just because we looked like a team that had only played 5 games together. And in the case of Disasi, no games together. But as the game wore on, the more tight-knit the defense seemed to get. And just, oh my gosh, I have a lot of positives, so I'm gonna try to keep it narrowed and tucked in here. We'll talk about Disasi, or I'll talk about Disasi. He was a big surprise for me. That, like, I knew he was a big guy. I knew, I'd seen him a little bit at Monaco. I knew kind of what to expect from him. But just seeing when we line up on set pieces, offensively or defensively, we don't have these little like string beans in the box anymore, like Kai Havertz, right? We have big guys. And I was not worried once about a Liverpool free kick. I just assumed that we had that covered up. And then going forward, it felt like we had a chance on corners. Mason Mount wasn't hitting the first wall or the first man in the wall. So just, I guess like what you guys said, it's hope. Because we have this brand new group, I would say that the rebuild is over, and this is the group that we have going forward. So now we can start to track this. But another positive, and I'm curious if maybe this is just me at the bar thinking this, or if you guys are on board as I am. Kepa's out the door. Kepa's going to Madrid. So we got Robert Sanchez, who was demoted to 3rd string keeper at Brighton last year. Just paid what, 25 million for him? 6'6". He looked pretty dang good. He did not look good on that first goal. I will admit, he looked slow on that first goal. But after that, he looked like he was taking charge of his box. And then there was even the Liverpool was a corner or free kick towards the end there that he just goes into the group with his whole 6'6" and just catches that ball up high. Something we never saw out of Kepa. Kepa's a little short guy. So I don't know if this was just me feeling good, drinking on my strongbow, or if you guys were catching the vibes as well. What did you make of Robert Sanchez?
I disagree. Personally, I thought that when he owned his box and caught the ball, that was his only bright spot. He played a ball directly to, was it Diaz or I can't remember who?
Darwin Nunez.
Yeah, to Nunez. And no, I played to someone and then the ball got clipped into Nunez and Nunez mishandled it and whatever. He basically almost gave away a goal, which very, very well could have happened. And I didn't think he did great on either goal. So I wasn't very high on him. I think getting rid of Kepa was a mistake, especially before we bring in level of goalie that we know can replace him long term. And so I am not sold on this move. I'm very iffy on whether or not he's that guy that will take us. And I mean, he's one of those guys where I'm thinking, like, if you thought Kepa wasn't great, then this is going to be a step backwards for us. I know he's a bigger body, but I thought Kepa did a lot for us last year. So, and years prior to. So it was kind of a shock to see him go. I know he was rumored with a couple of clubs, and then the Real Madrid news happened, and it was pretty quick. But I was shocked to see him go. Like I said, especially before, if we signed someone big, you know, I could have seen it, but not before that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially right before the start of season, that all of a sudden your number one keeper, yeah, we're just going to send you on loan to Real Madrid. It's interesting. Obviously, Real Madrid, they need a keeper because Courtois is out for pretty much the season. And Kepa has said that he wanted to go back to La Liga. So from that standpoint, the stars kind of aligned. He gets an opportunity to do that. It's a loan, which I think that's the good thing, is that it is only a loan. It's not a permanent. Sanchez, I don't know. It's the best I can give you. I don't know. I do see some bright spots, but I also don't really see a lot of scenarios where, you know, he really had himself a really good match. So I don't know. I think jury's still out on him. Again, not terrible for it being against Liverpool. You know, we know what their attack is like, so it wasn't terrible, but I still think that we need to see more of him to validate sending away our number one keeper to Madrid for the season.
So who would you guys bring in as a replacement for Kepa / Robert Sanchez? Or do you think Sanchez possibly gets better as the season goes on?
My number one, I think David De Gea is still a free agent. Why not? It's cheap. He knows the Premier League. He definitely has the experience. I don't think he's worse than Robert Sanchez by any stretch of the imagination. Why not take a flyer on that?
Tim or like Kasper Schmeichel for me. Someone you can get relatively inexpensively. I don't know if we can get Schmeichel before the season or before the window closes, but I like the De Gea pick. At least he's a dude that's Premier League proven and, you know, has been there and done that before. And goalies are like a fine wine, get better with age, kind of. I know he didn't have his best years at United, but I still think he's in that like legendary category and not just like a great. He's up there with some of the best names in keeper history. So why not?
See, I'm not as sold on De Gea because I feel like, especially Matt, in your description of De Gea, you're also describing Robert Sanchez, right? Oh, he's cheap. He's played in the Premier League. Like he's pretty good. You know, I don't know. For me to go out and get a keeper, I think they have to be leaps and bounds better than what we already have on the books. Like, I agree with Parker that you know, getting rid of Kepa was maybe not the best choice. I think Kepa caught a lot of flack for things that were out of his control. But I mean, unless you're going out and get like a Donnarumma or a Ter Stegen, like I don't know. I think you're kind of stuck with what you got, kind of stuck at the level of what you got here.
The only counter I would say is De Gea at least has a very solid body of work to stand behind. Not Robert Sanchez. De Gea has been around for a long time. We know what he can do. We've seen it. We've gone up against it. He can play, and he is good. I think he's better than Sanchez, and he'll probably be cheaper than Sanchez, considering he's a free agent, it would be a free. So that's why I think you go ahead and pull the trigger on something like that. And then worst case scenario, let him battle it out. Right? I mean, at this point, Kepa's already gone. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you were to sign De Gea and let the two battle it out for the number one spot?
Fair.
Especially because Gaga's gone too. I was thinking instantly like, oh sweet, we get to see Gaga. Then instantly kind of reminded myself, shit, he's out on loan as well. So it would have been fun to see him kind of battle for the spot too. I know he's a big up and comer for us, so it's a tough one for us.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to see what we do in the next 2 weeks here.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I was going to say, Collins, I think he faced maybe like 2 or 3 shots on target all game. I know at least the commentator in like the 70th minute said something like the only shot on target Liverpool had was their goal. And so that, he didn't stand out as a good game for me for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, it's certainly a fair criticism. I think that probably says more about our defense, right, in the midfield. So the other kind of hot point here, hot button player, I would say, is Conor Gallagher. Caught a lot of flack early in the game. Looked to be all over the place, as were a lot of our players. But really turned that being all over the place into being all over the place as the game went on. So especially at Highbury, I heard mixed reactions on Connor. I heard, oh, he's having a shit game. I've heard, oh, he's having the game of his life. Where do you guys put Connor's performance in this one?
I kind of brought it up earlier. I thought he played extremely well. And I alluded to this kind of during the preseason. Like, he's not just running around like a chicken with his head cut off anymore. He's finding places to be. He's going in with purpose. And it's that maturity, I think. I think we saw a good chunk of that in the Liverpool game. He played very, very well. I mean, comparatively for Connor, right? It's a different scale if you were to compare it to like Enzo, right? Like Enzo's always just fantastic, but for Connor's standards that we've seen so far, I thought he had a great game, and no better way to start off the season against a tough opponent and play one of your better games for the club.
I thought where he really stood out for me was defensively. He had a fantastic defensive game. He made 4 or 5 sliding tackles that were either like to save breaks from happening, or breaks were in progress and he made sliding tackles to prevent them from going further. He very much impressed me, and I had him as my man of the match for quite some time in the game. He was very, very high up on the list, and I know goals rule the day, goals and assists and attacking play rules the day. And I thought this was one of those sort of defensive, I don't want to call it masterclass, but defensive performances that stood out to me. And he shows up in the midfield, and he kind of controlled the box, and he kind of, he did a lot of things. He distributed well. He played well. I mean, he turned the ball over a couple of times, but I feel like when you're in some of those situations, that just tends to happen. Happened to Jorginho. It's happened to Enzo. It's happened to a lot of the players that play in that defensive mid role. So I thought his defense allowed Enzo to get forward further than he has traditionally been when he's played for Chelsea, and that led to a lot of good things. When Enzo's on the ball doing his creatives and stepping back and letting people go by him and doing things, I think he's at his best. So I think Enzo in the middle was only allowed because Connor was doing what Connor was doing on the defensive side. So if not man of the match for me, pretty damn close.
Yeah, I agree. Defensively, he had a great match. Tied for most tackles in the team, had the most interceptions, had a clearance, had a block shot. Overall, defensively, I would say look very good. Now, Matt, you mentioned running around with the chicken with his head cut off. As soon as he got the ball, that's where I feel like Connor kind of looked like that. You know, he's not a player like, I hate to use Enzo because Enzo is definitely a step above Connor, but you know, like those great midfielders that receive the ball, look up, they've scanned the field, they know what they're doing. Connor seems to be very one track minded, where he gets the ball, and before he even gets the ball, he's like, "That's where I'm going, over there." And so I feel like as the game went on, his work rate was great. His work rate wore Liverpool down, but there were moments there in that second half where Liverpool was starting to read into what Connor was doing. So I agree that for Connor's standards, that was a great game. But I think what that absolutely spelled out was that you get a world-class number 6 next to Enzo, and there's going to be problems, but not for us.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Connor's kind of always been like that. Like, get the ball, advance the ball forward, right? It seems like that's his only goal. Whenever the ball's at his feet, he's like, I'm going forward. I don't care. That's just kind of how he is and how he plays. Can it be changed? I'm hoping with Pochettino, yeah, that can be changed. Kind of get him to more of that. I don't want to call it like, well, maybe kind of like that all around midfielder, not just attack all the time, but just kind of take that second, take a look around, see where people are, what moves are being done, and then go from there. But no, I agree with that. I think it is an area that he needs to work on, but with the stuff that he was doing defensively, and I think with his work rate that we all know about, that kind of makes up for it a little bit, right? We're not necessarily expecting Connor to be that guy to, play that terrific through ball or that over the top ball, right? That's kind of Enzo's thing. We're not expecting him to do that. I kind of think of it like N'Golo Kante. We're not expecting him to be super helpful in attack, right? Connor has the ability to, but it just needs some work. I think as long as he keeps performing on the defensive side of the ball like he did, he's going to be just fine.
So I don't want to, like, we don't need to talk about Enzo because he was just fantastic and there's really nothing to talk about there. But I do just want to real quick point out the amount of dipsy doos that he had, those little like step back and goes, was fantastic. And the amount then of long balls that we played, but from him and out of that back three, was just phenomenal. So yes, unlocking Enzo, I think is absolutely the priority here.
Can I just take 1 second and just say that I love whenever he plays that ball over the top to Reese. It looks so effortless and it's always pinpoint, and it's like he's not even trying. He's just fucking around. He's just like, here you go. And it just looks so good every time. I love it.
There was that string of like 3 or 4 long balls in a row. They went cross field, forward, and then back over. And Highbury was just, ooh, ah.
Yep. When in doubt, send it across the pitch.
All right. So Chelsea did have 65.4% of possession today, which is the 4th most possession of any Premier League team against Liverpool since Jurgen Klopp took over at Merseyside. So while we did dominate on the pitch, we also did dominate Liverpool off the pitch today. Boys, we took two Liverpool targets. Number 1, Moises Caicedo, talking about unlocking Enzo. And number 2, Romeo Lavia, the young Belgian. So where do you guys want to start here?
Suck it, Liverpool.
Red Sox.
I love both of those points. So
I think both was a shock. I think that's like the number one thing. I'll believe it when I like see them holding up jerseys because I haven't seen that yet. But I would be very shocked to see both come in. But if that is true, Collins, then it's kind of an amazing, it's an amazing thing to take both away from Liverpool. I know a lot of the commentators were mentioning Caicedo and saying if they don't get Caicedo, is Lavia a good consolation prize for them, things like that. And now it's just kind of funny, a couple hours later that this is the news that comes out. So it feels good to be on this side of the transfer window. I feel like all too often Chelsea, we talk about not getting the guys that we want or deals kind of falling apart. But to be completely honest, I'm just happy this Caicedo stuff is done or seemingly done. At this point, I think it's gone on way too long, and there's been way too much drama. And so, if he can unlock Enzo, I think he'll be worth the money. But he's got a lot to prove with a big price tag, and I'm interested to see how he plays, especially after our Gallagher conversation. Me watching Gallagher play against top tier opponent, do well. Have a great game. He has big shoes to fill, and he's got a big price tag to fill as well. So a lot of pressure on him, and we'll see how it goes. But I think he's an exciting talent, and I think he's, there's a reason why he's that valued, and get him in here.
It's almost comical to a point, like. Okay, everybody knew that it was between us and Liverpool, and whoever got Caicedo, the other was going to go and get Lavia, right? That's I don't think that's new news to anybody else. So instead, we decided, hey, fuck you. We're going to just get both. We're going to steal your girl and your side chick at the same time. That's basically what we just did. We'll take your number one option, and just as a kicker, we'll take the number two option as well. Absolutely love it. It is a big Todd move. I'm excited to see it. Again, Parks, I'm like you. Once I actually see them with jerseys and out there on the pitch, then I'll believe it. But to have them both, absolutely love it. I have a hard time finding any midfield that's really going to compete with what we have now.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Just to give a quick rundown of what happened in the week since we last podcasted. We had offered about 95 million pounds. Part of that being add-ons. Liverpool swoop in. What was that? Thursday or Friday? Meet Brighton's valuation of 100 million pounds. We think it's all over. I go to bed sad. I know. I remember that part. Wake up to see Fabrizio Romano tweeting, "No, Caicedo only wants Chelsea. Deal is not dead." And what happens then? Oh, Papa Todd and Baghdad Iqbali step in and say, "No, we're going to handle this now." British record 115 million pounds is what finally did it. Got Caicedo on an 8-year deal with a 1-year option. So, boys, there was a great tweet out there, something to the effect of, if you piss us off, man, this is kind of what you just said. Hey, if you piss us off, we know, we know two things will happen. Number one, Todd and Baghdad will step in and they will get our guy. And number two, we will also then get your guy. So good. But no, I'm excited for Caicedo. Yeah, I've only seen him sparingly for Brighton. Didn't really have much interest in watching Brighton for a while. But just in terms of the data on him over the last year or so, he's in the 88th percentile in interceptions, 87th percentile in tackles, pass completion. He's in the 94th percentile, and this is in Europe's top 5 leagues. So he's going to have one job, and that's going to be a bruiser in the middle, and as soon as he gets the ball, to give it to Enzo. And I think he is very well suited to that. Now, do I think we overpaid at 115 million? Yes. Yes, I do. But that's the going rate, right? And if that's your target, you you got to pay up. So I'm not thrilled with the fee, but I'm thrilled that we got our guy.
Parker, I'm gonna ask you this question because this is more your wheelhouse than mine. Like, do you think so? Collins, you brought it up, but I'm just curious. 115 mil. Do we see these numbers going even higher in the future? And then, if so, does that make this a good deal? Especially when you think about it, we have them to an 8-year, possibly 9-year deal. Does that make it worth it in the grand scheme of things?
If it pans out, absolutely. You know, if he's someone that features for Chelsea for 5-6 years and earns a lot of that feedback, yeah. With the Saudi money coming in, I can only see this going up. Transfer fees have been at an all-time high this year. We've seen this as a trend, sort of, I don't even want to call it recently, since the Premier League formed. We've seen transfer fees go up and up and up and up. So, I mean, I think it is hard to evaluate. But what I like about our management, what I like about Bowley and Iqbali is the long-term deals, the amortization across multiple years. I know they're closing that loophole if it's not already fully closed, but where we can't amortize it over the full 8 years of that contract. It's all a matter of you know, do we get that out of him? And if he goes, what do we get for him then? Kind of a thing. When we did it for Rom, it didn't work out for us, right? When we do it for others, Kai Havertz, we've spent a lot of money on him. We played him for 3 years, sold him for about what we paid for him. Could probably say we lost on that deal, just because he didn't appreciate in value. So, but yeah, I think if players keep going up and up and up, and we secure our long term, absolutely. I mean, there's no telling what those guys would have gone for when they're 26 and quote in their prime. Enzo and Caicedo, you know, I'm lumping both of them together because they both of their price tags start with a 1 and have a couple digits after it. So I think if both of them pan out and they're the partnership of the future, I mean, when you look at a Liverpool team and you look at some of their staples of guys that have been there for forever, and you're like, man, I wish we wish we could have had some of those guys. And it's funny because when I think about Alisson, that was, you know, who Liverpool signed, and then we signed Kepa in retaliation for, or in response to that. Had we got Alisson, you know, the right guy, you know what I mean? It's a different story. And Alisson has proven to be an incredible keeper in the Premier League. So I think it's all about getting the right guy. Even if you overpay, like you said, Collins, if you overpay today, it might look like a good deal in the future. It's too early to tell, though.
And but to your point, with, you know, Saudi money coming in and all, everybody having to compete with that. 11 out of the top 50 most expensive transfers of all time have occurred this summer. And 5 of them over $100 million. In fact, you had four of those players, 4 of those top 50, playing in today's match between Chelsea and Liverpool. I think it's got to be kind of the wave of the future here. You know, with how much TV money's coming in, Parker, like you said, with the Saudi money, we've all seen ticket sales are through the roof. Preseason tours are making all kinds of crazy money. Endorsements. Chelsea now have a $50 million shirt deal, or £50 million shirt deal. Like, the inflation is affecting all sectors, I would say. All right. Well, so we do have Lavia coming in for a medical apparently tomorrow, as well as David Washington, who I can't remember if we touched on in the pod or if we touched on post pod last week, but the striker coming in from Santos. So, man, are we closing in on $1 billion yet? It's got to be close.
It's got to be close, but net spend, no, not even close, because we sold, we had a fire sale to get to where we are. So I think, like, I mean, obviously this is pre Caicedo talk, But when you look at the net spend numbers, we're not top 5 in the league this year. So I think everyone else is spending too. It's just we've sold 3/4 of our team to get to where we are today.
And
You guys,
go ahead.
sorry, real quick. Do you guys think this is all part of the plan? Like Boley knew about this loophole, like Boley and company, they knew about this loophole of these extended deals, because I know we've kind of touched on it, but it seems like this was revolutionary when we started seeing these deals, right? I think a lot of us were kind of used to, playing on FIFA, you can only sign a 5-year deal. That's like the max. Like, do you think that was the plan the whole time? Like, hey, we know that we can space this out over 6, 7, 8-year deals. We'll pay for everything now while this loophole is still there. And then we'll just get a bunch of players. We'll be set for the next 5, 10 years. And then we'll figure out what to do with that. Do you think that was like the game plan when Boley and company like got into the front office?
I think this is going to be just one giant baseball reference, but Boley's got his history with the Dodgers and that organization, and they've done a very good job of drafting and trading for young talent while also spending a lot on stars and then flipping young talent to get stars. And this is kind of what we've seen this summer. You're flipping your older talent, some guys who still have potential, for money that you then use to buy more young players who could then reach their potential. So I think this was in general the plan. I don't know if he was planning on breaking the British transfer record twice in a matter of 6 months. But Terry Fleurs put out a great post today looking at the amortization and all of that. Chelsea amortized, yeah, this year is 255 million pounds. Sales of players are not amortized. So this summer, they're actually plus 20 million pounds. They have a surplus because they've sold 275 million pounds worth of players. So you cannot tell me that Boley and company in Clear Lake do not have a team just sitting there every day reading through FIFA's financial rules and saying, hey, this is how we do it. All right. Well, let's turn to our polls. Oh man, it was great to have man of the match and man to get the fuck out of here back for this week. So we'll start with our man of the match poll, and this is the obvious one. This is who had the best performance out of anybody on the pitch. You can always vote for these by going to @flagdownpod on X. God, I feel like I hate that. It's Twitter. Go to Twitter.
You can still type in twitter.com and it still comes up. So until they change that.
Yeah, I just feel like, yeah, go take X. Go be on X. Not a great look. This is a family pod. God damn it. All right. So your man of the match. Parker, this came from your list directly. I took one player off of it. So if you voted for that other player, I'm sorry. But you had Conor Gallagher, Axel Disasi, Enzo Fernandez, and Reece James. Parks, who'd you go with?
I kind of alluded to it. I actually brought it up again to make sure I said who I voted for, because I couldn't remember if I picked Enzo or Gallagher. But I picked Gallagher. He stood out to me. And I thought if he missed or mistimed some of the challenges that he had to make, Liverpool would have been in and it would have gotten ugly quick. It could have been 2, 3, 4 goals from them. He kind of made those tackles at the right time. So goes unnoticed. And it's obviously one of those, what if or, chances, it's hard to evaluate those, but I thought he stopped a couple of really solid chances for Liverpool, kept us in the game.
I would agree with Connor. It's tough because Enzo's like always on there, and he doesn't do anything wrong, but he doesn't usually like wow us in the way that like Connor did, right? Because we're not expecting that much out of him. We expect Enzo to be Enzo. It's kind of like with Thiago Silva. You expect him to just do Thiago Silva things, which I think is unfortunate because we would probably just pick Enzo almost every single match. But for me, this match, I'm going to go with Connor.
Okay, I see you guys there with Connor. I know we talked him up a little bit. I got to go Enzo. Enzo was fantastic. Yeah, I know, right? I'd go gay for Enzo. Start to finish, he was fantastic, especially playing that more advanced role, which was thanks to Gallagher playing in the number 6 role. But he was 10 for 11 on long balls. That's an astounding number. Nuts. Led the team in passing, understandable. Led the team in progressive balls, which, balls into the final third. Enzo was the start and finish of our attacks, and it was good to see from him, especially after a poor preseason.
He also had that assist that wasn't an assist, but he played that ball in to Chels.
That was a pretty ball. I enjoyed that one. And you know what? I've always said it. I am a man of the people, and this time the people agreed with me. 65% of the vote went to Enzo. Conor Gallagher did come in second with 15. Disasi and Reece James come in with 10. Parker, where do you think Chilwell was the odd man out there? Where do you think he would fit into that?
I thought he had a good game, but I would have put him in the list above Diassi because aside from the goal that hit off between his shin and his knee, he didn't stand out as much for me. But I thought he had a good game. Not trying to diss him, just I thought Chills was a little bit more active, and I thought he had the assist and then he had a goal that got called back. So Benny Chills was being Benny Chills today. He had a good game.
I was upset about that it got called back because my prediction for him being the top scorer, and I was like, oh, this is so good. I couldn't have planned this any better myself to have a goal and an assist right off the bat. But so good.
Yeah, the only reason he didn't make it in over Disasi is just how hard Disasi slapped the badge after scoring the goal. So much passion. He had to make the list for me.
Debut goal.
All right. Well, now turning to our man of the get the fuck out of here poll. These ones are a little bit easier to do on solid days as opposed to last year where this was our main poll. So our man of the get the fuck out of here poll is the worst thing about the day. It doesn't have to be a person, could be an idea, could be a place, could be a thing. So Parker, again, this is primarily your list here. So we're going to go with missed chances, stoppage time, Jurgen Klopp, or Raheem Sterling. We'll start with Matt this time. Matt, where are you going?
Pretty obvious for me, Raz. Honorable mention to Anthony Taylor, just because I fucking hate Anthony Taylor. I just can't stand him, and the fact that he got to call another Liverpool-Chelsea game. We all know what happened the last time. And I want to also note that I found it absolutely hilarious that the commentators brought up the last match that he's actually officiated was the nightmare Europa League game where Mourinho basically chased him out to his car in the parking lot. So, fuck you, Anthony Taylor. But out of the people that we have available, I'm going to go with Raheem Sterling.
Matt, I will say he carded someone for simulation. I think he gets a man of the match vote for that.
It's going to be the only time.
All right, Parker, who you got?
I actually didn't have a problem with the refereeing today as much as a lot of people did. I still see his name everywhere on Twitter. So I know there's deep rooted hatred against him, but I voted for Raz as well. He just stands out as, Collins, your quote I'll use from your group chat, but it's where attacks go to die. And it's just it's such a letdown. And I said that where Carney and Raz were playing today was our weakest spot. And it's just, I expect so much more out of Raz. He's a seasoned Premier League veteran, if you want to call him that. He's not a young player. He knows what's going on. Like, yeah, he's fast, but he just doesn't do anything. And I like watching so many more players than him. And he's just it's just a depressing person to watch. Missed chances, we had a couple, but it wasn't as bad of a missed chance day for us. I thought the Nico Jackson chance could have done better there. Aside from that, nothing really was glaring. So usually that's my go-to, where we miss 14 chances and then it's a tough day at the office. But yeah, for me it was Raz today. Collins, where you at?
Yeah, let's sweep it with Raz. His fucking dinosaur arms. I will never get used to that. No, he was bad, and yeah, absolutely. Every attack that went through the right side to him ended up not doing anything. Now, when he released it to Reece James or cut it back into somebody, then things look good. But nothing went through him. He didn't facilitate anything. He obviously didn't score. He was probably our worst player on the pitch. And you know what? I forgot to check who scored, but I would be willing to bet that he was probably their man of the match. Matt, I know you would appreciate that, right?
Oh yeah, Parks and I would both appreciate that.
He was not
passes of touches or something like that.
He was a 6'4" 3. The only people he beat were Robert Sanchez and Carney Chukwuemeka.
And Jackson.
Oh yeah, and Jackson. That was 6'2" 8. Yeah, okay, that's about right for Raz. Do you know what? Us three, we must have been the only people to have voted for Raheem Sterling. He only got 3 votes. Did come in second though. Missed chances was the winner, with about 2/3 of the vote. I do want to give an honorable mention to Jurgen Klopp though. I fully enjoyed all of the videos of him throwing himself to the ground and pouting like a fucking German baby. Oh man, real quick, more punchable face, Jurgen Klopp or Diogo Jota?
Jota, easily. The only thing that makes his Klopp's face punchable is his new shiny white teeth.
I was gonna say, are we doing
teeth
pre or post teeth? Because that's a whole different ball game. I would say Jota. Somebody else to throw in the mix, Darwin Núñez.
Oh God. We need to bring good friend of the pod, Joe, on.
Oh yeah,
and see who has the most punchable face in that Liverpool lineup. I'd also throw Virgil in there.
Yeah, but he could probably take a punch. So.
All right. Well, again, make sure to check out our polls after every match day. You can check them out on X/Twitter by following us at FlagDownPod. Boys, before we close out here, any closing notes?
It's easier next couple matches. So I know we play in a week from today, and then back on the weekly train. And so I think we're gonna figure out what we're made of real quick, because we got to start seeing some results. I think the draw against Liverpool is a good result. I think it was positive, but I'm reluctant to cheer for this this rebuild and everything working out as is until 3 points start coming in a more regular fashion. So I'm still a touch reluctant, but excited at what I saw. I thought today had so many more positives than negatives, even in the parts that we were struggling in the beginning. I still thought there was a lot to cheer for, and that we grew to the game and it got pretty evident. So a lot of good positives, and the youth, we have to trust in the youth, right?
Yeah, not much else. Season started. Good to see the boys back. See what happens next.
All right. Well, make sure. I think we were on Twitch for a little bit today. So I got a notification. I didn't check it out though. So whenever we are back on Twitch, make sure to check that out. But also make sure to catch the podcast version on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. All that we ask is that you subscribe, rate, and review. You can catch us on social media, anywhere that you get your social media. Just follow us at FlagDownPod. Boys, it's been a pleasure. I'm already counting down the days to Chelsea's next game, which is something I have not done in about a year. So we're back.